What's going on, friends? If you are looking at buying a new Harley-Davidson or a nearly new Harley-Davidson, you have to be very careful and pay attention to what you're buying. Not only that, you need to pay attention to the models around the model that you're looking at, the different family members of that model family. Because when it comes to buying a new or nearly new Harley-Davidson, the deck is really stacked against you, and when it comes to Harley-Davidson, this is done by design. It is no secret that Harley-Davidson, not only in the engine, but when it comes to actually what comes with the motorcycle, when it comes to seats, fairings, different little nuances of accessories on the motorcycle stock from the factory, they intentionally leave some things out on purpose. Not only when it comes to just seats and pegs, it also even goes down to the finishes. Now, we all know that a black Harley-Davidson is always the cheapest, and they always charge more for the color option. That's always been a thing with Harley-Davidson, and now it is even a thing with an Indian. But what you really want to watch out for is what model you're buying. Because if you buy a cheaper model, and then you kind of go down the rabbit hole of adding a passenger seat, or I want different finishes, I want to do this, I want to do that, by the time you do all that, and you pay the labor to have all that done, you could have got a model up that actually has a lot more stuff on it than the one that you paid for, and in the long run, it would have actually cost you a lot less. Guys, please don't forget, if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit that like button, and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. Now, case in point, when it comes to new Harley-Davidsons, it is the soft tail standard. This is the cheapest way to get into a big twin Harley-Davidson. And by design, Harley-Davidson, for Harley, well, they keep the price down by giving you some very plain finishes. And not only that, you get the 107 engine. I see a lot of people that go out and they buy this bike because it's cheap. And don't get me wrong, it's not a bad bike. But you've got to really know what you want to do with it before you go put your money down on it. Number one, doesn't come with a passenger seat, and it doesn't come with passenger pegs. As I mentioned, you get very plain finishes, chrome handlebars, kind of the silvery finish on the engine. Now, if you buy that bike, immediately most people, the first thing they're going to do is be like, hey, I want a passenger seat, passenger pegs. Now, yes, you can go to the aftermarket and get that a lot cheaper, but a lot of first-time Harley buyers, they're like, well, I'm already here, I want to keep my bike all Harley-Davidson. So they go pay the big bucks at the parts counter to get the Harley-Davidson pegs and the Harley-Davidson seat. Now, once that's done, you go ahead and put exhaust on it. Of course, that's expected. Exhaust, air cleaner, tune. We know that's going to happen. Now, generally on this bike, when it comes to the finishes on it, most people would honestly choose a black air cleaner. You get that black air cleaner, you have that bike, you're sitting at home looking at it in your garage, and then you're thinking, well, that black, man, that just really stands out too much against those silver finishes. So what do? You start blacking out everything on that engine, and when you do that, the price starts going up. And the next thing you know, you could have spent about $2,000 more and went ahead and got the Street Bob, which already had the passenger seat and pegs, more color options other than just black. And not only that, it already had all the black finishes on it to begin with. Now, here's the other issue with that Softail standard. It has the 107 engine in it. Yes, we can make that 107 a 114, just like the Street Bob, which is $2,000 more right off the showroom floor, but you still got that smaller crank with that 107. Now, granted, you might have a little hotter 114, converting that 107 over with some cams and everything, but the labor that you're going to spend on that, by the time you buy a big bore kit, have it installed, that's going to cost you way over the extra $2,000 just to go ahead and get the 114 motor. Now, if you went ahead and spent a little extra, that extra $2,000 up front to get the Street Bob, you've already got the 114 engine, you put a good aftermarket cam in it, and you're making exponentially more power with just a cam swap versus all the money you would spend on a big bore kit to get that 107 up to just basically the stock 114 specs. Now, don't get me wrong, the 107 is a great engine, it puts out a lot of power, it's very close and comparable to the 114 with an aftermarket cam in it, but that's just figures on paper. When you actually get out and get these bikes on the road, that's when you notice the big difference is that feel in the seat. That 114 compared to a stock 107, both those engines stock, you're going to notice a huge difference with that 114, and that gap becomes even more noticeable when you start going and putting an aftermarket cam in it and hopping them up just a little bit. Now, we've seen this a little bit more here recently when it comes to Harley-Davidson's engines. Yes, you can get a 117, but you're going to have to get it in a Lowrider S or a Lowrider ST. Now, Granted, these are cruisers versus the touring bikes, so let's just kind of focus on the Lowrider ST. This is kind of a sport touring model, and that's how Harley-Davidson pitches it and sells it, but you're already spending about $22,000 for this bike brand new, and the one thing that it doesn't come with is a passenger seat and pegs, so right there, you're going to jump in the catalog, add a 2-up seat, and a set of pegs. That's just a little bit extra money. But the compromise on that is that you're actually getting the 117 engine. You're paying just as much for a basic street glide or a road glide, but you want to add a stereo to that, that's going to be another $1,000 right there, plus installation, unless you do it yourself. Now, when it comes to touring models, probably one of the best deals out there on the touring models is just basically the standard street glide and road glide. Chrome finishes, 107 engine. But it's going to be the exact same case when it comes to the Softail standard. A lot of people will gravitate towards those new because they're exponentially cheaper than the specials, which actually have the blacked out finishes. They have the better stereo in them. And even the specials come with the option to have a chrome engine, which is a whole lot cheaper, but I'll get to that here in a minute. Now, if you buy a standard street glide or road glide, you automatically got the chrome finishes. It's going to be the same scenario. Eventually, you might want to go ahead and black out that engine. And that's not a huge deal, but by the time you buy the parts or you take your parts off, have them powder coated, and if you're paying the labor to have them put back on, that's going to put you generally right up there, pretty close to what you could have bought a special for. Here's the other thing. The specials come standard with the 114. You're still got a 107 on your basically your standard road glide or street glide. Once again, we could do a big bore kit or we could put a cam in it, but that engine will never be and have the potential that the 114 right out of the factory has, because the 114 has a bigger crank. And by the time you pulled the engine, split the cases, you might as well have just bought the special at that point. Now, the other bit of trickery that Harley-Davidson has been playing with us here lately, everybody's gotten away from chrome. Nobody really likes chrome these days. The big popular thing is all the blacked out finishes on the motorcycle. Harley-Davidson has recognized this, and now they still give you a chrome option, but if you want black, you are going to pay for it. And here's the thing, it is cheaper to buy it new with the blacked out finish. Go ahead and pay Harley-Davidson the premium that they're asking to get the black finishes. This is exponentially cheaper than tearing down the motorcycle, buying a blacked out kit, and swapping everything out over on the engine, especially if you're paying labor. Yes, you could save a little bit of money versus buying all that stuff from Harley-Davidson and just pulling off your stock stuff, taking it out to a shop and having it powder coated, putting it all back on. But once again, you're paying labor. But really the only way you're going to save any money doing that is if you're doing it all yourself, and that can be very time consuming. Now, even Harley-Davidson has started playing games with their colors a little bit. Let's use the Baja Orange Road Glide and Street Glide Special. These bikes look great, completely blacked out. But here's the thing. From Harley-Davidson, they don't offer that color with blacked out engine and exhaust finishes. If you want that done, you got to do it yourself. And that has been in such high demand that a lot of dealers, they will order that Baja Orange Street Glide or Road Glide Special, and the dealer will automatically go ahead and swap everything over, black everything out, take all the chrome off, either powder coat it or swap over to Harley-Davidson accessories and make it all completely black engine, completely black exhaust, and it, don't get me wrong, it looks exponentially better than the chrome finishes on that color. It has been so popular to do that, even the dealers have caught on to it and started doing it. Now, make no mistake, they're definitely going to charge you a premium when it comes to that. Now, if you've been shopping for a new or gently used Harley-Davidson, you have noticed that the prices are really close. Now, unless you're somebody that just wants a 0 miles motorcycle, then you're pretty much going to be paying the premium brand new. But if you could stand a few miles on them, a lot of these used bikes with between 2,000 and 5,000 miles, they may already have the blacked out accessories. They may have an exhaust and a tuner on them. The caveat to this is that they are just about as much as a brand new motorcycle. Just as much, if not the same price. Maybe some dealers, I've seen they're even charging more because it has a bunch of aftermarket accessories on it that the previous owner put on it, put about 2,000 to 3,000 miles on it, and then went and sold it back or traded it in at the dealer for whatever reason. Now, a gently used Harley-Davidson that's already got a lot of parts and accessories on it, that is definitely something to consider because you really are getting quite a bit for your money if you can stand a few miles. But do a little comparison shopping. Look at a comparable model that is bone stock, brand new, 0 miles, what does that cost versus all those accessories? How much more are you going to put into it? So if you can stand a few miles on the bike, buying a gently used one that's already been fixed up quite a bit, it's not a bad idea. So guys, if you're looking at buying a brand new Harley-Davidson or a gently used one, definitely pay attention to those things we talked about in the video here. This is really important, and it can also save you a lot of money and a lot of hassle, and it won't put you down that rabbit hole of going through the catalog and ordering a bunch of stuff that you could have already got stock, or maybe already got on the bike with one that's gently used with a few miles on it. But guys, I want to know your opinion. Would you guys buy a brand new motorcycle, or would you buy a gently used one that's already got some accessories on it, even though it costs just about as much as the brand new one? What are your thoughts and opinions on that? Which direction would you go? But anyhow, guys, that's all I've got for you this week. If you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. But guys, until next week, you stay safe on the streets, ride smart, dodge those cars. I'll catch you guys back here next week with a brand new video. Thanks for watching.